Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we will be talking about the possibility of a blue wave in the 2024 election. We are only 18 days now away from the 2024 election, which is insane to think, and prepare for these 20 days or 18 days to be the slowest 18 days of your life. But we are quickly approaching the 2024 election, and it appears closer than ever. For the first time since the beginning of the Harris versus Trump race, Donald Trump has taken the lead in the 538 model, but it's marginal. It's so marginal because it literally is just 50-50. I never talk about, these forecasts going back and forth because, whether it's Harris up 43-47 or Trump up 42-48, it's just basically 50-50. Each candidate has the same chance to win. They can't get it this spot on. So despite, all of this coverage about the 2024 race being such a razor thin margin, and of course that being reflected in all the polling as well, right? The popular vote would indicate a very close electoral college. I'm here to tell you that this is my current prediction. I'll just say this: it's not all that razor thin. And it still opens the door, really, for a blue wave election of course, in 2024. It still is a possibility to surprise a lot of people. I mean, just think back to 2022. It was basically a wash, right, in terms of how well the Democrats did versus the Republicans. But before the election, it was supposed to be a huge red wave. So Democrats way outperformed expectations. They were way behind, and they made it basically even come election day, come the results. But now we're starting at a point where Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are basically tied, of course. We just looked at the forecast. They're basically at 50-50 when it comes to their chances. So if Democrats were that underestimated in 2022, where they were behind and they made it even, now they're even, they do have the opportunity to now make it a blue wave year. Like it was supposed to be a red wave year in 2022, if they're now even and they were so underestimated in 2022, this could indicate that that Harris and Walz could win comfortably, and the Democratic Party as a whole could win comfortably in the 2024 elections. We will see, and this makes sense when you look at my forecast. As I said, I am more bullish on Harris's chances than some of these other forecasts are. When you look at the 538 forecast, they give Donald Trump a better chance to win, as you can see. Let's just check up on the states. They say Trump is favored in Pennsylvania with a 51% chance. Harris only a 52% chance of winning Michigan. Wisconsin dead even 50-50. Arizona, Trump has a 63% chance, etc. So the fact of the matter is, these forecasts are expecting just a completely close race. When I do give Kamala Harris, yes, it's a pretty narrow race, right? Especially compared to the 306 electoral votes Biden won in 2020. However, it's not that razor thin as some of these other forecasts are projecting. Harris and Walz win 287 electoral votes. Trump and Vance win 251. Harris easily carries Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Nevada, while they do narrowly pick off Wisconsin and Arizona as well. That gives them victory. While only 2 of the 7 battleground states, North Carolina and Georgia, are going to Donald Trump. And what you might notice that's extremely important in my model is that both of these states, again, out of the 7 core battlegrounds, only 2 of them going to Trump. What you might notice is that both of them are tilt Republican states. This means that they are the closest of the close states. When you look at North Carolina, it's a 0.7% margin for Trump. Georgia, a 0.8% margin. These are razor thin. Any state that is a tilt state in anyone's prediction, less than 1%, that means that they believe it is absolutely toss-up, and that is what I do believe for these 4 states. They really are toss-up. I mean, just look at Arizona. I'm projecting a 0.1% margin for Harris. These states are going to be close, right? We are in such a partisan time, such an interesting time in American politics, where this race is going to be razor thin and just decided by a few states. I mean, the fact that 4 states will be decided by a less than 1% margin, that tells you a lot. But the point I'm trying to make is that you've got 2 states, only 2 of the battleground states going to Trump, and they are such narrow margins where Harris could easily pick them off in a good luck year, or, in a positive year for the Democrats, where they're just underestimating a 1% margin in my model. But North Carolina and Georgia could easily go to Kamala Harris and she's at 319 electoral votes. That means that she's outpacing the 306 Biden won in 2020. Somehow, she's gaining 13 from 2020, somehow making this a much more Democratic year in the Electoral College than was 2020, which is just, a complete reversal of everything that we've heard. Now the mainstream media and everything like that will the forecast too, but the mainstream media is going to talk about how close this race is. It helps with the ratings, everything like that, for the TV networks, and that's fine. I mean, when you look at every poll, that is what it would indicate. However, it is a fact. Harris does have the upper hand in this election, and very easily, with just a slight in such a close race like this, right? With just a slight turn in either direction or a slight underestimation in the polling or in forecasts in either direction could produce a map like this where it's not even close. Harris beats Trump by a total of 100 electoral votes. So how does she do this? This will root in the suburbs. I talk about the suburbs a lot because the fact of the matter is, the main point here is that if Kamala Harris, the suburbs are going to trend left. If the suburbs trend left enough towards Kamala Harris's direction, enough to offset some of the gains in rural areas among moderate voters Donald Trump is making, then she could win comfortably and expand on Biden's 2020 map. So when you look at a state like Pennsylvania, or even I always bring up Pennsylvania, so let's even take a look at a different state, since many of you returning viewers have seen when I bring up Pennsylvania. But when you look at a state like Texas, you have three suburban counties around Dallas County. You've got Tarrant County, Denton County, and Collin County. Obviously, all three pure suburbs, pure heavily populated suburbs, growing in population. Of course, people moving to Texas from more liberal states. That is why it is becoming such a Democratic state, more trending left. But anyway, let's take a look back. Even 2012, we're going back 12 years ago. This was the Romney versus Obama race. And you can see Tarrant County voted for Romney by 16 points, Denton by 32, Collin by 32 as well. So again, 16, 32, 32. Now let's go 4 years later. This is 2016. Donald Trump won this election. So as a whole, the country trended towards the right, towards the Republicans. However, these counties did not at all. Tarrant County went from a 16-point margin to a 9-point margin for Donald Trump. Denton went from a 32% margin for for Romney in 2012 to a 20-point margin for Trump. Collin County, most shocking of all, went from a 32-point margin in 2012 to a 17-point margin in 2016, and it only gets worse from there. Tarrant County flips blue in 2020. It goes from a 9-point margin for Trump to a Biden plus 0.2% margin. Denton goes from a 9% margin to a 20-point margin in 2016 to a 8-point margin in 2020. Collin County goes from a 16-point margin to a 4-point margin. It is just stunning how even in 2016, when Donald Trump had such appeal in these other groups and demographics of voters, he absolutely got demolished by Hillary in the suburbs, and he was even more extreme in 2020. Now, I'll mind you, since then, January 6th has happened. Donald Trump has become a convicted felon since the 2020 election. He has been these issues, these moral and character issues that the suburbs care about most, right? These parents, how this will reflect on their families, on their kids growing up, having a president, Donald Trump, again. That is most, I should say, suburban voters are most prone to this type of messaging, and it's only gotten worse when it comes to Donald Trump, with that type of messaging when it comes to character and morals and his flaws as a human being. So that's just Texas, but it was a very similar situation in the key suburbs around Philadelphia, and then you've got, of course, suburbs around North Carolina as well, as well as the suburbs around Georgia. That's what won Biden the election, right? Like Newton, like Cobb County, the most important of all, and then Arizona as well, Maricopa County. You can, of course, it's harder to see since the counties are so big here, but Maricopa County, They went for Trump in 2016. They went for Romney in 2012 by 10 points. 4 years later, they voted for Trump by only 3. So, again, one of the few states that actually became more Democratic in 2016. And then 2020, it did flip blue for the first time in decades. Joe Biden won there. So what Kamala Harris has to do is get out the base, right, in the cities, which the media is obsessed with the story that Harris is losing African American voters. In the most accurate pollsters, it's marginal. Trump is maybe gaining a few points, but in the end, it really won't matter. I never talk about that because I don't even think it'll be a factor, to be honest. So Kamala Harris has to run up her numbers, get out the base, I should say, in the urban areas, in the Democratic areas, right? Atlanta, Philadelphia, Detroit, Maricopa, Milwaukee, etc. And then she has to run up her numbers in the suburbs. That is what she has to do. She has to make the suburbs more Democratic from even 2020, run up her numbers there so that it offsets any losses that she might suffer in cities or in the rural regions. So, in the end, that could produce a map something like this, where Georgia and North Carolina are blue, Arizona could potentially be lean, Wisconsin could potentially be lean, and in the end, it's not even that close at all. So I just want to say before election day, yes, it's still close. Yes, Donald Trump could absolutely win the election. That is for certain as well. But don't be too surprised if it's a map like this. A similar situation to 2022 where Democrats were so underestimated. In the end, they really weren't. Don't be too shocked if you're watching this video now. I'm not calling this. This is not my prediction. I do think that Donald Trump is the slight favorite in North Carolina and Georgia, and I do think that Harris is the slight favorite in Wisconsin and Arizona. But by election day, this could change as well. But again, don't be too shocked. In the end, if you see a map, something like this, and you're like, what just happened? Because the fact of the matter is, it certainly is possible because of the closeness of these battleground states. If Harris gets lucky and wins all 7, then again, in the end, it won't even be that close. So thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe. We've got 18 days until Election Day. I will be posting at least 2 videos per day until Election Day. So you can stay, of course, up to date, everything like that when it comes to the 2024 election. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all later.